Blessings, blessings. Good night, good night, good night. Welcome to Planter Garden TV. How you guys doing on this beautiful night? Yes. Well, as you know, guys, we basically heading for February at this moment, and there's people who might say it's too early to start seed. For me, I don't think it's too early. Honestly, I don't think it's too early, because I'm telling you, sometimes it's so challenging, and if you're really not trying to purchase any starts, it's best you get ahead of time. So in case your seedling fail, you stand a chance of starting over. I'm telling you, it could be very challenging sometimes. But there's many ways that we have a lot of problems in seedlings, and why a lot of people give up in germinating seed or starting seed from indoors. Why a lot of people give up is because it's very challenging. And if you don't have patience, the truth is you can give up. All right, so I'm going to give you a few ideas today that make a lot of people fail in germinating seed. The first thing I want to say is, I keep stressing this, the water situation. Water. You always got to remember, the seedling is indoors and the sun is not shining. So when you water them, it takes time for them to even take up this water, because you got to remember, the place is still, if you have them indoors, say you have them indoors, the place is not as hot as the sun. So there's things I see people do, and I think it's a really big problem for a lot of people: overwater. And one thing we got to understand, sometimes you'll be surprised that because you overwater your seedlings, they could start growing fungus. And when I say fungus, we know we love a certain fungus in our soil. But when you're doing it indoors, the kind of fungus that might accumulate is the one you might want at all. Is the one that's gonna destroy your plants. Is the one that's gonna destroy your plants. So you don't want that soil to be too damp and always wetty and sappy and always water inside. No, that's gonna create root rot. I'm gonna do a little demonstration in this container here, where we have some soil in this container. I'm gonna show you what a lot of people do, and I think this is what fails them. So, all right. We have some okra seed here. This is some okra seed. One thing with okra seed and beans and these type of seed with hard shell, is really good to sow them overnight. Soak them overnight, or soak them for a few hours before you even think about putting them in the soil. So what a lot of people do that I think make them fail, what a lot of people do, they're going to sow the seed. Many people sow seed in a container. I don't sow seed like that, because I think it's take up too much space for me to be setting one seed in a container. You see like how these here? These here coming along pretty well. These are, I think, is some cabbage. And we have broccoli, we have others, we have pepper inside it, germinating lovely. Some of them you see get real tall, but don't worry about that. It's the lack of sunlight. So because I put them to the window, they start looking different. But I'm going to show you along the way how I get these seedlings going and how I get their roots to start get bigger and how I start to get them able to stand up for themselves. So yes, the first thing I want to do, I'm going to hold it like this. We just sprinkle the seed into the container. And after we sprinkle the seed into the container, what we do, we cover the seed. We cover the seeds then. We cover the seeds then. So we sow the seed and we cover the seed then. Now, the mistake a lot of people do is water it. And I'm going to show you, wait, do I have the, where am I doing the water? No, I don't have the water. But what a lot of people do, they soak the water, the soil. Soak the soil till you could see the water inside of the soil. That's not good. And then the next thing again, sometimes they don't even have a drainage. And the drainage, you got to get that water out of that container. Because if you don't get the water out of the container, what's going to happen? The seed going to get jaundied. You're going to lose the seed. The seed going to be floating in the water. Then next thing, they just rot. So you have to have drainage. So now what some people are going to do, they're going to follow this lot of water. When you look in the soil, you're going to be seeing water into the soil, and that's not good. That's going to create problem. That's going to create a lot of problem. Drainage is important, and you can't just load up the soil with water. What you want to do, you want to make sure the soil is wet. Wet enough that the seed can get wet. And the soil going to keep that moisture for a few days, and then that helps the plants to germinate. Right? This is a container, and I'm going to use this as a demonstration. Now, this is a container that I purchased a fruit tree into years ago. But guess what? I keep reusing this container every year, because once you take care of them, you could reuse them. Nothing wrong with that. But I'm going to show you some difference, because many plants have their own likeness. If you notice, you see where this hole is. This hole is right here. If you notice, it's right here, and it only have one hole to the bottom. It only have one hole to the bottom, and right all the way around. So the way this design that the water gonna come down, and it's gonna run out here and also here. So this could be able to drain a soil properly. It's gonna drain it, and then guess what? The water that settled to the bottom gonna seep out to this hole very slow. But at the same time, it's a drainage. So if you say you set seed inside this and you soak it down, the water gonna come down and find its way out. So the drainage is very important. Even though you're using a container like this, you make sure you put a hole, drainage. Drainage is important. And this is where a lot of us fail because of drainage situation and overwetting the plant. Overwetting the seedling can create fungus. And the fungus, sometimes you see plants like this, next thing you see they snap, they almost slap in half. You see what I'm coming from? So this is important, guys. I'm telling you, I would wet my seedling once a week, and that depends. And what I do, I take my hand, I push it down, and once I start to feel moisture, I'm not adding no water, because remember, the root is to the bottom and the moisture is down to the bottom. So the more you add in water, you creating a dampness, and maybe the plant might even like that dampness. Most of these plants prefer their root to be drained. The soil must be drained. And this is how we get great result. Like for instance, you see how these kind of tall and leggy right now. Guess what? At one thing I can say, these healthy plant, they just need a little more sunlight, which I start putting them by the window. And now I start putting them by the window. I see they start adding more leaf. I see my peppers them over here done germinate. We have the lettuce, we have the cabbage and broccoli, and everything coming up really nice. So right now the soil is pretty damp. When I say damp, you could feel some moisture inside of it. So because of that, I'm not going and water this until the moisture dries out. The next thing again, you don't want to train your plants them by giving them a lot of water indoors. You don't want to train them like that. You want to train them in a way that they understand that they could live from liquor water. All right? So guys, seedling is very important. We all know that, and we all know how expensive they can be. But if you want to start your seedling from indoor, you ain't got to get a $1,000 setup to germinate some seed. You don't have to get that. But you have to do the right thing. When compound a certain temperature to get your seed germinate, when compound not too much water, these things are the key to seedlings. And if you don't take heed and learn from every season and get better and understand what is taking place, then you're going to have to keep buying starts. And starts is getting more expensive and more expensive every day. So what you guys think? How you guys doing? Peace and love. Hope this video can inspire someone. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share.